Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast, your favorite weekly games podcast. My name is Kerry Palmer, and joining me, as always, is Jeremy Bratatich.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Mate, I am dog tired, but I'm happy to be here on this Tuesday morning. It's a return to not form, but this is where we used to record the show when we were recording.
Yeah,
When we were recording via the internet for the first time. We were
a
trying
year
to
and
do
a
it
half
in the
ago.
morning.
Yeah. Returning to the home spot, just because that's how things lined up for us yesterday. Hopefully, with new upload time of Tuesday.
Yeah, we're gonna be trying a couple of new things with the upload schedule, where the idea is that we're not going to be recording on a Monday and then publishing on a Friday, because there's so much that we can miss in that time period. Or if something comes out on the Friday the previous week, we talk about it on the Monday, and then the episode goes live the next Friday. It's just a bit late.
So if we've done the work, we've worked it out. We think we can bring the edit time down to less than 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be good. I think that'll make it a bit more current.
The edit time less than 12 hours.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Time to post. TTP. You know how when Mark Cerny was on stage talking about the development of the PlayStation 5 in front of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 set, he was there talking about the previous PlayStation consoles TTP, the time to pixel.
Time to pixel?
Yes. No, sorry. Time to polygon. It was how long it takes a developer to get the dev kit and then draw their first polygon on screen.
Right.
We've coined that. It's time to post.
Time to post. Time to post pixels.
Yeah. Time to Polygon would be not a bad name for a show. A little bit close to Polygon.com, but...
Yeah, a little. Time to maybe...
As an educational show, I think. Like, hello everybody, it's time to Polygon.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Time to Polygon.
Kerry, I have a question for you. Usually you start off these shows by asking me a question. That is like just a nonsense question just to get us, talked up a little bit.
Yeah.
I've got one for you.
Nonsense.
Yeah. Have you hived much this week?
That is a nonsense question. You're right, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for. I was thinking last night I should talk about Hive because we spoke about it so much last week.
Still slow.
Yeah, it is. I hived. I would say I hived quite a fair bit until about Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, right.
And then I went outside.
Mm-hmm. Touch grass.
And I was like on a train. What'd you say?
You touch grass.
I don't know that I did. My shoes did.
Right.
But no, I was on a train, right? I was on public transport and I was like on my phone. I'm like, oh, like that's a good time to load up this new social media app that I've been using, that I like using. It has to be said, the vibes on Hive, the Hive vibes are excellent right now. All the posts are just awesome. It's a very positive feeling over there, but it's very positive. When I loaded it up on the train, it was like, okay, I got to turn it on, and then you kind of have to wait for a minute.
You do.
Before it's like 30 seconds before the timeline loads, and then it's another 1 minute before you can like or comment on the first posts on the page.
Yeah, like it I think that the issue is that I can get into the app and I can see posts and I can't interact with them immediately.
Yeah, which is an issue.
And because then it's like the top post that I'm seeing on my timeline and not actually getting any engagement from me. Yeah. Because I'm hitting the button, it's not working, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll continue scrolling as opposed to waiting to bequeath someone with my like. which
And that's what I was doing for a while. I was waiting, and I'd press the button like a few times and it wouldn't work, and then my phone 30 seconds later would go like, and I'd be like, oh, it's ready now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'd press it and move on.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you move away from the tweet, then it doesn't process
Yes.
or the post. So yeah, it's gotten to the point for me where I am excited for the future of Hive, but it is going to take some work. It's a small team, and I think it's going to be weeks to months before it is performant, let alone before it has new features.
Yeah, I am concerned that they're going to miss that boat. Like Elon continues to be the worst, and continues to make the platform worse and worse.
Yes.
You know, in the past week, he's reinstated Trump's account, right? Like, who in just honestly, like, a very funny move, Trump has refused to use his account. Simply refusing to play ball with the little king that is, you know, on his dunny. So like, you know, just like one bad decision leading into a funny decision, but like, you know, Elon not backing down from any of this shit. I don't know if you saw his tweet yesterday, Kerry, but he posted a picture of his bedside table. And it is like he's got like 2 guns on it and like a bunch of like empty like Diet Coke cans, and he's just the most divorced man whose children don't talk to him. Like, he's just the worst kind of guy. So yeah, you know, like,
What?
and you should see the replies. The replies are like, you know, billionaire defenders also posting their bedside tables with guns on them.
Oh God.
Like, yes, sir.
What?
Very well memed, Mr. Elon.
Oh no.
It's so bad.
I mean, I just get skittish around firearms in general. You know, like when we were going to uni, like occasionally we would walk past police officers. There was like a building nearby our uni that was, some police building.
It was in our building. There was a police headquarters.
Yeah, and so we'd go to like get a coffee in like the atrium of this building, and there'd be armed police officers also getting a coffee, and I'd be like, I'm in a room with a gun right now. Holy fuck.
Yep. Can
you imagine having a gun on your bedside? 2 guns on your bedside table.
Yeah, one of them is like a big looking revolver, and the other one is like some flintlock pistol from like the 1800s, right? Like, it's just embarrassing. Could you imagine?
Francis Drake's flintlock.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to prove that he's an heir.
Anyway, I actually don't think Hive is going to be the one. I think it's just not going to make it enough, and I think another one will come in and swoop in.
Maybe. I think Hive has cemented, at the very least, a small dedicated audience for the time being that will stick with it for now. And it will be on them to retain as many people as they can while they're upscaling, and then bring in more people. But you know, right now it's awesome. There's no ads. Like,
yeah, but like, that's like, we know that's not going to change. That is going to change, right? Like,
yeah, I know, totally. But like, in the meantime, it's great.
Yeah, sure, yeah, yes.
So like, yeah, I don't know. I do really like it over there. Will we shout it out in the intro, Jeremy, for the MiniMap account?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, check it in.
It's tricky with Hive as well, because you can't manage multiple accounts without just signing out and logging in, and then you have to sign out and log in if you want to use your own account.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, we'll see about how much we post there for the time being. It is difficult to manage, I guess. It's more difficult than it is on Twitter, at least.
Yes, yeah. I can't just easily swap between the MiniMap account and post there.
Yeah. Maybe you can. Jeremy's got an Android tablet hooked up to his speaker system for Spotify. Maybe that could be the MiniMap Hive social tablet as well.
Yeah, I'll bring up my old previous tablet, which used to be the one that I used to have for speaker systems, which is currently not in use.
Yeah.
My old Samsung.
Just the Hive tablet.
Yeah.
It might take 5 minutes to do anything on that one, though.
Will.
Oh dear. All right, let's get into it, everybody. If you weren't aware, this is the podcast for minimap.com.au. We do it every week. We're going to talk about video games and what we've been playing and topics and all kinds of stuff like Hive. Just that's the show. Welcome. You can go to minimap.com.au to find all other things Minimap, like our other podcasts and the written word and stuff like that. You can also find us here. Seeing as we're speaking of Hive, let's jump right into the socials. If you want to keep up with us, you can find us. It's going to get a little more complicated, but you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch, where we are live right now. All of those accounts are at MiniMapAU. We're also on Hive at MiniMap. Just MiniMap.
Yep. And we're on YouTube at MiniMapAU.
Oh, did you get the handle?
The handle.
He needs the handle. You can catch us every week on any podcast platform of your choice, or you can watch us as we record the show live on Twitch. Normally Mondays in the afternoon, but we might be changing that up, but we might not be. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks, and we'll keep you updated. But we'll be recording live whenever we record, so you can catch us. You can follow us on Twitch to find out when we go live and to follow along and sit and chat and thing. That's twitch.tv/minimapau. The account is at minimapau on Twitch. I don't think they have ats, but it's minimapau on Twitch.
Yeah.
So we hang out, we chat.
That's because it's on YouTube. It's /@minimapau.
Yeah, /@. That's becoming a really common thing. Like with those other Twitter replacements, what was Co-host and Mastodon had, or one of them had like a /@.
Yeah, I think TikTok use /@ as well.
Just the worst.
Yeah, we are not. We don't have a custom handle on TikTok, I believe.
We need the handle. So yeah, be sure to keep up to date with us when we post something new. You can follow it on the website to find all of our things that we do. You can also find our content on those social accounts. Yeah, it's a good way to know when we post an episode and what each episode's about. For example, last week was all about how poorly Pokemon runs, and also other things.
Yeah, we spoke about God of War. You spoke about Sifu.
Yeah. Guess what, everybody? We're talking this week about Pokemon, Sifu, and God of War, but we're talking about
different.
the topic of... We're also going to be talking about the topic of last week's show, which is what is the best year of the best game of 2009? What is the best year of game?
Yeah.
Said 2000. Oh dear.
That'd
we
be
also
good,
wanted
though.
to say
what was the best year in games?
that would be good.
I'm writing it
Very
down.
difficult.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
Okay, good. I like that. Maybe one for the new year,
Yeah.
which is rapidly approaching.
Oh my god.
We also wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. Lastly, if you want to help keep the lights and mics on, you can throw $5 our way and become one of our patrons. It helps us to continue to do this. You can ask us questions on the podcast like, hey, what's your Hive handle? Now that I wasn't able to steal it, like you were so afraid I might do last week. That's a question you could ask on Patreon. And it's as cheap as a latte with oat milk. You could do all of that by going to patreon.com/minimapau. So this week, we're going to be talking about last week's topic, which we bumped because we spoke about too much other stuff.
Yeah, we ran out of time.
No, we were on time. We were making great time. But this week we're going to be looking back at the year 2009. Where the last time we did this, we looked at 2006, which was that was interesting because it was pre PS3. It was just the start of the Xbox 360, but it was peak PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, and it was a bit further in the past for us when we weren't more game focused, when we were younger and we were just kind of playing whatever we were given, or like the one game we chose at Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
2009 is a bit different. This is when I got a bit more serious about the games I was playing and owning and enjoying. Jeremy, were you even in high school in 2009?
I don't.
You weren't, were you?
I don't know.
I think you were, because you would have only been turning 12 at the end of that year. So you would have been grade 6.
Maybe.
You bastard.
I might have been class of 2009 for high school, for primary school, rather. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I was '07.
Yeah. 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 09. Represent.
Anyway, so 2009, I was in year 8. Jeremy wasn't even in high school yet. But a number of games came out. So we put this all together last week. So we're gonna go through a list of the heavy hitters, the ones that everyone knows and have stood the test of time and people will recognize and be like, oh, I remember when that came out. Also talk about just a few of the like key announcements at like conferences that year, of like what were people looking forward to in 2009? What did we learn about for the first time in 2009? And then we'll go through our personal picks and why they're our personal picks.
Yeah.
So without further ado, as it is, it's not adieu, which I wouldn't have been able to tell you confidently until I Googled it the other day.
But it's adieu about nothing.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? Because that's just like goodbye.
Yeah.
Much goodbye about nothing.
Yeah.
But also that's just like anyway. So 2009, what were the games, some of the best games of that year? We have Batman Arkham Asylum. And interrupt me if you've got anything to say off the top of your head for these ones, Jeremy. But Batman Arkham Asylum, Dragon Age Origins, I never got to, but people say it's amazing. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, which I know was amazing. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Jeremy, do you remember when all the kids at school started playing this game?
Yes, I was one of them.
You see, I wasn't.
Right.
I was on the outside listening to people talk about all of the games they were playing and how they were yelling at their mums because they didn't want to eat dinner.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you seem like a shitty person, but also I want to play this game.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
What else we got? We got Street Fighter 4, which I didn't realize was that long ago, but also that makes sense. Braid, so this is the start of some of those indies starting to come out.
It was the beginning of Soldier Boy playing this game while really high, and then
the beginning. It's never ended.
Yeah, and then Jonathan Blow getting unreasonably angry about it. Because for years, to the point that like I tweeted that at him a couple of years ago and he blocked me.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. Like I feel
so funny.
It's a badge.
It's a cherished memory.
Yeah.
What else we got here? We got Assassin's Creed 2, which was amazing. We got Left 4 Dead 2, which was also amazing. New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Resident Evil 5, not so amazing. I'm going to skip this one I've got here. I'll mention it in a second. Infamous was that year. I would have thought that was earlier, but that was 2009. Does this mean... No, that was 2010, I think. I saw Infamous there. I'm like, does this mean this was the year of the PSN hack?
That was the year later.
That was the year later, because I only had my PS3 at the end of that year when Assassin's Creed 2 launched. And then, I remember it was like 6 months later. I got Infamous from that because when they reinstated it, they were like, here's 5 games and you can have like 2 of them.
The PSN hack was actually 2011.
Oh, was it? Oh, even longer than that.
Yeah, even longer. Also, but like those games they gave you for free, you could actually get all of them. I don't know why. Like they said you can have one of them, but like you could just actually redeem all of them, and I did.
Oh, yeah, I should have done that.
It was weird. Like they didn't. It was odd. I think it was just still broken.
Well, yeah, it's a testament to how stapled together their whole system was.
Yeah.
Red Faction Guerrilla, Prototype, Trials HD, Halo 3 ODST, Brutal Legend, Borderlands, Guitar Hero 5, and DJ Hero. They all came out that year. So this is sort of also this was also the year of when YouTube really kicked off. This is when you start seeing way more like Call of Duty gameplays. Like it becomes less about montages, becomes more about the people playing them and their gameplays. And I remember this is the start of Achievement Hunter in earnest, I would say, when Trials came out, Halo 3, ODST, and stuff like that. So it's a very prominent time in my like internet consciousness tied to a lot of these games.
Yep.
The other thing I jumped over was in May of 2009, the very first edition of Minecraft came out.
Was it?
Yeah, like the alpha.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Was it? I don't think it was Minecraft at that point, though.
Sure it was.
What
do you mean?
Wasn't it the game before it was Minecraft?
No, I don't
it was
think
called
so.
something else.
When I looked it up, this was the first edition of Minecraft came out in May 2009.
Right, okay, there you go.
I didn't play on the alpha. I think I picked it up in 2010 with the beta.
Right.
Um, but also, what a time.
Yeah.
There's something. Do you ever see like old Minecraft footage and you get nostalgic for how the world generated the types of worlds that you would get in the older Minecrafts, and it's like, Minecraft isn't like that anymore. That's old Minecraft.
Yeah, yeah. Like I do know what you mean. There was a simplicity to it because it was such a basic generation, or like simple generation, we'll say. You know, like I don't know if you remember, every world you generated, you always started on sand. That was like the thing.
Oh yeah.
I think because that was the safest block to spawn you on, because otherwise you might spawn inside of a tree. I think that was the entire reason.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny though, because like sand could like cascade theoretically.
Yep. Yeah, that was. I have very strong, fond, vivid memories. It wasn't that long ago. Like it really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like it is a while ago, but it's not that long ago. But also, like you were still in primary school, you little shit.
It's been a constant. I wasn't playing in primary school, but like it's been a constant. I didn't play in the alpha. I played in the beta.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. It's yeah, a lot of these are like, I can't believe it was that long ago, and like, oh my god, that was so long ago. Like a lot of them, I can remember these really clearly. But also, it was 13 years ago.
I do remember the very first time I saw Minecraft, which was in alpha. Like one of my friends showed it to me, and I looked at that one.
Okay, that's cool.
And I was like, I don't know what this is. Like this doesn't look like anything. This looks really bad. Yeah, I'm gonna keep playing Oblivion on my PS3. So
yeah.
like it was
I don't remember what brought me into it, but at some point it became, you know, I watched enough of it on YouTube and then I bought it. It was so cheap back then too. It's still kind of cheap now. It's not more than $40 Australian, but I think I got it for like 25.
Yeah, right.
And it's the same copy that's just lasted all this time. Yeah, Minecraft's great. So some E3 announcements.
Just to set the stage.
Just so you know what the future was like. At Nintendo in 2009 E3, their biggest announcement for the years coming forward was the announcement of Skyward Sword, so with the Wii Motion Plus. So that would come out 2 years later. For Sony, it was the announcement of Move controllers. So this was Sony trying to play catch up with the Wii and the motion control fad that it was, which we now know it to be. Also, the project that I think people knew about at this time, being made by Team Ico, was announced as The Last Guardian in 2009.
Just to touch on the Move controllers very quickly. I think it's maybe a little bit mean to say it was a fad, only in terms of
motion controls.
Yeah, only in terms of we wouldn't have the VR tech that we do right now without the stepping stone of the motion controllers, I feel.
That's true. However,
motion controls on its own, yeah, like gimmicky, but
which is what they were developed for.
Sure, but the tech has superseded its initial purpose.
I think that's fair. That's fair. It's relevant to mention now that motion has a big place in the VR space. I mean, now.
Those Move controllers,
part of immersive.
Those Move controllers became the PS4 VR ones, right? Like that was what you used on the PSVR 1. You know,
that's probably why now that I think about it, it's probably why the cost was so cheap, because they didn't have to R&D any other controllers.
They didn't even package them in.
Why, yeah. At least they made them compatible though. Could you imagine if the PSVR was only a headset and the camera?
I mean, that was how I used it for most of it. There were only a couple of times I actually used the ones.
Yeah, but I feel like it would have only sold half as many units as it did if it never had the hand movement integration. Like that's what people want. VR isn't just the head stuff. It's the reach out and grab something and
that's the thing.
Smack your hand on the desk. Everyone wants that experience.
In 5 years, VR is going to be a little bit cheaper to manufacture because we're not going to need hand controllers anymore. They're just going to be doing hand tracking. We've got it right now.
Yeah, I for it to be any decent, the tech's got to be good. I don't think it'll be cheaper because the hand tracking is going to have to be that much more sophisticated. There'll be more processing power.
Oh
It'll
yeah, no,
take more
I mean
battery
to physically manufacture. I mean, yeah, maybe. Like I feel like there will be a lower footprint at least to have to consider.
that will be exciting. That will be fun.
Yeah.
That comes with its own limits, of course. Like if you swing your arm out of your field of view, then where's your hands? Got your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, um, and then yeah, Microsoft's conference was a bunch of games that we listed above already. Plus Tony Hawk Ride. Does
Everyone's
everybody remember
favorite.
this game? This is the Tony Hawk game. This is what? This is after Underground 1 and 2. I can't remember the others. I never really played them too much, but this was the one I saw and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, but definitely a gimmick. This is also the age of the Wii Fit balance board, remember? But this was the Tony Hawk game that came with a skateboard peripheral. It didn't have wheels on it. It was just like a deck, but it was a controller. And
Yeah.
so you jumped on it and like you could maybe do I hardly even looked at this thing. I just looked at this. I was like, "There's no way this takes off." And guess what? It didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of gimmicky hardware coming out around that time. Do you remember the PlayStation?
This is the year of DJ Hero and Guitar Hero 5. So this has come to the end of the rhythm game renaissance.
Yeah, but do you remember on the PS3 there was that camera that looked down? Remember that? There was that like camera on an arm and it would so there was a game that came out with this is early PS3, right? So it was a game that you had a mat. And the mat you could put cards on. The cards had little QR codes on it, and it came with this camera on an arm that would look down at this mat, and it would then stream it to the TV. It was all connected by wire. And then the cards would come to life, and you would play this entire game on this mat with these physical cards. This is also the era of like that Book of Wishes game on the PS3. Remember? And there was like the physical book that you had, and you had like it came with a wand. And you would like do magic.
Pulling all these deep cuts that I've never heard of from.
I have this weird memory of a lot of this era. There was
and the PS3 for me when it was announced, it was like $1,000, no thanks. And then I looked at footage for Tools of Destruction, and that is all I remember of the early PS3. I never saw any of the tech demos. I never saw any of the like original announcements or the price cut. I never even saw the announcement of the PS3 Slim. It's like I don't have any history with that.
I had one of the early PS3s. Like it was after they removed backwards compatibility, but it was like I had one of the fat models. And that was because we bought a new TV and we bought a Sony TV because it came with a PS3.
Oh. That's how you got to do it.
And the reason we did it is because it was like one of the best Blu-ray drives on the market. And that was back in the era of there are 7 Blu-rays. And
yes.
It's like 2001
yes, there was still a bit of a fight with HD DVD.
It was even after that fight had ended, but movies just hadn't really adopted it yet because only a few movies were getting it because it was such a process to make the films that higher quality. And so there was like the shitty 10,000 BC movie that came out. There was on a Space Odyssey. There was like 5 other movies. And it was all from a single studio too. It was like one studio had adopted it.
Right.
Weird times.
Very weird times. Very strange. So yeah, that's sort of where that all was. There's a lot of good shit here as well. Like, that was also the year that they showed off God of War 3. I remember the Assassin's Creed 2 at E3, the original trailer for that with Ezio in the Carnival in Venice. And then you do the flying machine mission. That Assassin's Creed 2 demo, like, that has a permanent place in my memory.
Yeah, right.
Of just me being so excited for it being so colorful, it looking so much more complex and interesting than the first game.
Yeah, for me, the thing I remember the most is the Last Guardian reveal announcement, and it was like the video itself is a well in the middle of like this dark. It's like the well with like a light shining on it, as if it's in a big empty room, but just with like a little hole in the ceiling. And this light is shining directly onto this well, and this well has a chain sticking out of it, like a huge metal chain. And there are like feathers, like getting like breathed out of the well or falling in or something like that. And you can hear the sound of Trico, and I think like maybe you see an eye or you might see a claw or something. And then it said The Last Guardian, and it was like from Team Ico, creators of Shadow of the Colossus, and it's like you look at this like, what is this? Like, what are you making here? And it's
what
like,
an artistic, strange way to show that off.
Yeah.
Very evocative.
Sure didn't exist at that point in any meaningful way.
Sure wouldn't exist for another 7 years, and not on this console generation.
Yeah, just to touch on this very briefly, you know what the original footage of that game is, right?
Not really.
Well, it's just like it looks like The Last Guardian. It's like a gameplay demo of Trico like jumping on the kid jumping on Trico's back and all that stuff. Like it looks like the game, but it was rendered on a PS3 at about 10 frames per second.
Whoa!
Sped up in post.
Yeah.
And added sound effects in post.
Oof.
They dubbed over a
They
gameplay.
really manufactured it.
Yeah, like, and it was completely not real. I mean, like, it was real because like it's probably essence of that part of in the game, but it was like not a real representation of the game running on PS3.
Proto game.
Yeah, and like they knew, they had to have known. Like, we gotta wait, we gotta hunker down.
Well, I mean, they did.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, what an incredible development cycle. It was also around this time we were getting. When did we get a Final Fantasy Versus 13 announced? So I think that was the next year, along with like BioShock Infinite and like Brink. Like I think that was the next year in 2010 and 2011. Because I remember when I did some work experience for school in year 10. So yeah, that's 2 years later. At this independent game store called Dungeon Crawl, which doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. Pull one out.
And they subscribed to like IGN Prime or whatever it was called then, so they could download the trailers, and they just had them running on this big screen all day. And so I saw that BioShock Infinite trailer, and what was the first thing I said?
Brink.
There was that as well, and something else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Brink came out that week, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to try it?" Well, there were other people in store, and I played it. I'm like, "Wow, this sucks."
Yeah. Yep.
So, what were our favorite games of this era? As well as like what were we up to in our gaming lives? Jeremy, you want to? I've got mine ordered bottom to top with like 2 honorable mentions, and then like the top 3 most important ones.
Yeah, I'll start with my bottom 2. Infamous, first one.
Mm-hmm.
And
that game's all right.
Yeah, that game's pretty good. I remember having a good fun with that game. I think I didn't platinum it, but I came close. I did both. I did 2
playthroughs. The collectibles
playthroughs.
are pretty egregious in that one.
Probably. I did 2 playthroughs of it. I did like a good playthrough and an evil playthrough. That was back in the era of like, choose your side, and they're both pretty much the same at the end of the game.
Totally, yeah. This is post Mass Effect 1, pre Mass Effect 2.
Yeah. I think the concept of Infamous is still cool, and I'm looking forward to when they inevitably bring it back. There's been rumblings of it coming back for a while now. I think
we'll see. Ghost of Tsushima is the big limiting factor on that one now.
I don't think it'll be Sucker Punch doing it. I think it'll be someone else. Give it to Bend.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Give it to Bend.
Yeah.
That's
good call.
Like there's room for more Infamous, I feel. Second Son, while not a very good video game, looked quite nice. Especially when it came out. So, there's room for more. And Trials HD, what a fucking awesome, cool game. I want to say that was $15 or so when it came out on the Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah.
I put hours and hours and hours into that game, just trying to knock down all of my Xbox Live friends' high scores and seeing some of them going like, how the fuck did you do that? That was the beginning of me score chasing.
And I didn't have an Xbox, and it was such a moment.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Did
game
you
was
play
unreal.
the original Trials on like Flash?
No, I did not.
And I did. So I saw those and I was like, oh, I really like that game. And then part of my brain was like, it's another Flash bike game. You know, they're all the same. Drive forward, angle your things, but this one had such an awesome physics-based approach where it was all about how it was like a rear wheel drive. So you had to have your back wheel down to get over this thing and
Yeah,
angle it forward. And then they did really cool things where you're inside of a ball and fire traps and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that was Trials
Like
really had something.
it looked good. It ran great. And it controlled just super tight. It was such a perfect little experience.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And they did an awesome job with Evolution a couple of years later as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Trials Evo was great.
Mm. So my sort of honorable mentions, Minecraft is there. Again, more of like I didn't quite get into it in 2009, but
Yeah, I didn't include it on my list because I didn't play it around then.
yeah, I think I want to include it because it's like it's probably not going to come up on like a 2010 list,
Right.
you know? And so it's like early Minecraft, I guess, is just the point here. And like, it was very, very good. It was very fun and very important
Yeah.
to play and be a part of, you know, playing it on my mum's iMac. Like, and yeah, like I said before, there's something really special about those early games.
Yeah.
Like pre-Hunger Meter Minecraft,
Yes.
the world generation, like the small islands you would find, and the frequency and type of music you would hear. Like I feel like you don't hear the same songs in the same way anymore on Minecraft.
No, like the whole game has basically been rebuilt. Like at this
Yeah.
point, like, you know, that's how that goes when it's in active development and changes ownership like 3 times. Like
Yeah.
that's how that goes.
Yeah, and the other one I've got here is Prototype. I played the whole thing of this game, and this was like, I remember when did I mention this last week? I can't remember, but I played this. So my dad moved in with with his partner at the time, who had 2 kids. So I had some step siblings. Basically, they weren't married, but you know, de facto step siblings. This was also at the same time when Jeremy and I were neighbors, and we didn't know it yet. And we didn't know it until we were no longer neighbors. But I played this because my stepbrother at the time had it, and he let me play on his computer when he wasn't using it. And so I did. And I remember I was playing this, and my dad came in and was like, "What's this?" I'm like, like I was kind of young. I was like, oh, it's a game, but it was like the intro cutscene where they're like in an alley and then the guy makes like a blade for a hand and like sticks it in someone and rips him in half, and I'm like, and Dad's like, all right, and walks out. But man, this game was so weird. It's so not actually that good. It's an interesting concept, that whole like virus thing, and you can like. You get stronger and you can get like a blade arm, which is good for taking out tanks. But it's also like edgy for edgy's sake, is like, oh, I don't care about anything and I'm going to kill people because I'm an angry thing infected with a red thing.
Yeah.
What's his name? Alex Mercer, I think.
Yeah, right.
I don't think that game's very good, but I sure did play the whole thing, and and I have strong memories and feelings about it. Same with 2, actually. 2's not very good either. 2 better though. What's one of your top 3?
One of my top 3 is Flower.
Flower.
The second game from that game company, who then went on from Flower to make Journey and then Sky. Flower was one of the first times I played a game that wasn't like guns, I think, really, or like, you know, hitting and running and punching. It was like, it might have been the first
swords.
Yeah, it might have been the first like indie game I played, I guess.
Yeah.
And I remember like I saw it. It's gonna make me sound like a granddad. I saw it in a newspaper. Someone wrote, I don't know who. I wonder if I can track that down. I wonder.
Oh, that was that classic time, right? Where Good Game was coming up and people were like, oh, you hear about there's this gaming TV show and people, yeah, you'd see an article in the newspaper about a game like Flower and how it's not a game with guns and how it makes you feel things.
There was like a regular page maybe once a week, which was like a bunch of game articles in a newspaper, probably like The Age. And probably. I remember because Dad used to buy the newspaper, and so then he'd go through it, and then he would see that page, and then just like give that page to me and say, "Hey, you can read some stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And like I'd always read it. And I saw this game called Flower, and like the way they were describing it, it's like it's like this melodic experience where you don't have a bespoke character, but you are the wind, and there's no real control buttons, but it's motion control, and you press any button to be the wind and blow flower petals. And I'm like, that sounds so cool. And like, so like I then took it back to Dad, and I showed him that newspaper like clipping. It might have been this big. It might have been like 5 sentences.
Yeah.
It was tiny.
Yeah, totally.
And I said, like, can we buy that? And he looked at it and he read it because he's expecting, like Star Wars or whatever. And so he reads it and he goes, you want to play that? I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay. And he was much more into me buying that game than he was me buying, another, and he was not like video game bad or anything, but he was like very much like, whatever, you've got your games, fucking play them.
Yeah.
But this was like, this is different. Maybe he'll like this. And so then we went like
cheaper too, right?
Yeah, I think it was probably $12,
$30.
No, it was cheaper than that. It was real cheap. Right. And like Dad played it as well, and Dad thought it was great. But it was like a whole thing where it was like, like that was the beginning of me saying like, oh, that looks weird. I want to play that, I guess.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. I do remember the first time playing that in the lounge room, and Mum and maybe like my brother or his partner being like, oh wow, this is cool, and like handing off to somebody like, oh, you want to try? Just press any button and you go forward and turn the controller, and it's like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah, and it's like it's still looks incredible. I don't know how, but it still looks incredible. When it came to PS4, if you own it on PS3, you got it on PS4 immediately, which was like amazing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. They had a PS3 back compat.
That's amazing.
Flower, Journey, and Flow. All of them. Which was so cool. And yeah, which also means you can play it on PS5. Still looks great. Played it on PC not too long ago. Still looks great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that game's amazing.
Yeah.
All 3 of those games are. Let's see here. All of what?
What do you got?
What do I got? All of these are sequels. All of these are 2s. I'm just going to start from the bottom and go up. We have Left 4 Dead 2. So this was before I had a PC. I must have gotten a PC the year after, as a present from my dad. But Left 4 Dead 2 came out at the same time, or around about the same time, that the Steam for Mac client launched.
Yep, I remember that time. That was the first. That was when I made a Steam account.
Right. Yes, I had made one already because of, again, my stepbrother's computer. So I think I'd owned it and played it a bit on his first, but I couldn't always play it, and it wasn't on my terms, and he'd come home and I couldn't play it anymore, and but then it was ready on Mac. I could play it on Mac if I want. And Mum had this relatively new iMac, which honestly was probably not quite up to the task, but it was enough up to it that I did play hours and hours of this game on it. But to get Steam working on the iMac, I needed like the newest version of Mac OS. So I asked someone at school and they gave me their install disk, and I got I needed like Snow Leopard or something at minimum to run it. So upgraded the OS on the computer. Then I downloaded Steam, and then I had it, and our internet was low, like slow, so I couldn't download Left 4 Dead that month. So I downloaded like Altitude, which was this like 2D dogfighting crap game.
Yeah.
And I played far too much of that. And then I played so much Left 4 Dead 2, and I like moved the computer from like the tiny desk into like the desk in the kitchen table because it was closer to the router, and I could hardwire it in, and like all this random shit. And I just played a bunch of Left 4 Dead on this crappy mouse and keyboard and this computer that wasn't really up to task. Man, I love Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead 2 is so good. Like the campaigns in it are great. The voice lines are like they're iconic to me at this point. I think the gameplay is still solid to this day. There are people on Steam who I don't really talk to anymore because that would be weird, but who I like met on Left 4 Dead and then like would squad up with them and we'd play a bunch and then I'd friend them and we'd do it again the next day. And I really, really like Left 4 Dead.
I missed that
even
boat.
the censored version, which we did have in Australia, which I did have.
I did miss that boat. Because I didn't play it till way later. I didn't play it until the PS4 came out. I think like I played it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like and like not like I didn't play it on the PS4, but like I didn't play it until around the 2013, 2014 time. Yeah. Like when I played it, it was cool, but I could tell that what I was playing, I was missing something.
It does feel a bit dated.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, if you don't have that nostalgia for it. Like one of the first YouTubers I watched and really enjoyed was like a Left 4 Dead 2 funny moments video, and like that's a part of it as well. Like
yeah,
it was a moment. It's the kind of way that because I didn't have an Xbox, I missed Halo, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's similar feeling. I can imagine that. Like,
it's good. You'd probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
You don't have it.
Yeah. All right. I'll briefly going off that. Halo 3 ODST came out in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Did you get it on launch?
No, I got it close. I think I got a PS3 around. So I think I got a 360 around 2009, 2010. Because my 360 was bundled in with ODST, so that would have been a close launch.
Yeah, within 6 months, surely.
Yeah. So you actually might not know this. Halo 3 ODST is a 2-disc game.
Yes, because the second disc is the Halo 3 multiplayer, right?
Yes, but every aspect of the Halo 3 multiplayer. So it is
it's all the DLC.
It is called the Mythic disc. It included every DLC pack for Halo 3. Which was awesome. It was so cool. And it also meant that all of the Halo 3 achievements that you were getting worked from the ODST disc, because it wasn't like an ODST SKU running the game. It was a Halo 3 disc just without the campaign. That also meant that every now and again I'd make friends with like playing Halo 3 online, only to then say, hey, do you want that? Only for them to say, hey, like, let's jump in campaign for a little bit. And like me saying, like, I don't have it. And then I had to go out and get it.
And they were like, what?
No, like everyone knew who was playing it, but it was just like, oh, like you just have ODST sort of thing. But yeah, ODST was so cool. It was the first Halo with firefight. First semi-open world-esque game that Halo did. Really cool story, great cast, aside from one bad egg. We
didn't know he was bad at the time.
We didn't know he was. I don't know when Gamergate happened.
I think it was like the next year.
Right. We were both too young to know what Gamergate was, though. At that moment, I think.
No, man.
You weren't? I was.
When it happened, I was well aware of what was happening when it happened.
I wasn't at all. I wasn't following those circles just yet. Like I was following game announcements, but the actual like anybody doing games like adjacent media, I was not following just yet. Aside from good games,
pages are saying that Gamergate's started in 2014.
Yeah, right. Regardless, ODST was fucking really sick, really cool.
It's very, very good style. I remember seeing it and being like, this is a very like stylistically, as in like artistically, it looks very cool. Like the style of the game is quite different, which I thought was strange. That sort of like way less health, you're way weaker. You're not a Spartan kind of a deal. It didn't seem that appealing to me as someone who wasn't into the franchise already, or who wanted to be but wasn't.
Yeah, like, and it was
But-
weird for me because I'd never played, like, I'd played some of Halo 1, but not
You
properly.
played the Halo 1 demo.
Yeah, yeah. And so then, yeah, when fucking ODST comes out and I play it, I'm like sitting here like, this isn't what I thought Halo was, but I don't really know what Halo is. And so like, this is
Yeah.
just kind of like a weird entry point, but like really cool.
When we're in the break, let's listen to that song.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else on ODST?
Awesome music.
It's a fun campaign. Playing that with you a year or two ago. That's a fun campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, it is solid and it's got really great, like, awesome moments.
Yeah. Oh, fuck it. Maybe it's time to go back through.
Yeah, go back through, play them all again.
Because Ollie got me to reinstall Master Chief Collection. I might.
Good.
I might.
I don't know. I didn't realize you uninstalled it.
With a fresh install, because I
okay.
didn't want to have the same situation where I had to wipe my entire hard drive to get rid of the previous user's Microsoft Store downloads. I just cleared everything.
Yeah, right. That's fair.
Another game here. We've got Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. I don't think I played it this year, but it is the year it came out, and it is it's an important game. This is a game my brother's friend let me borrow as like you got a PS3, you got to play this. It was Bayonetta and Uncharted 2, and I didn't play that much Bayonetta because Bayonetta is really hard, and I got stuck on something really early. But man, Uncharted 2 was so fun. I don't have that many specific rememberies of playing it the first time.
Yeah,
but
right.
I do remember just really enjoying it and it being like just that initial like climbing the train and like there's a bullet wound and I'm like, oh, this is so it felt so different. Like this cartoony stylistic art style, but it's like a movie game. The gameplay is great, but it looks really good and there's all this acting and character and it's like a modern day shooter story, but it's not like COD.
It's not war.
Yeah. It kind of is in that one in two because that you're fighting that you go to Nepal and there's the war general who is looking for the
yeah, but it's Indiana Jones war. It's not it's not military.
Exactly. It's not URAs and AC-130s.
Yeah.
It's I can't tell you that much more about my first time playing it, except I did play a bunch of the multiplayer and I really enjoyed it. And I remember playing it when my some of my relatives came down and my cousins like watching me play. I was like, "Oh, what are you playing? Let me watch you play this." And he would just laugh because like some of the the level 100 skins was like the skeleton of Sir Nathan Drake and the skeleton of Marco Polo and like sort of this. And like the further you got, you could like add flames to them, and like one of them had a turban on, and so he's laughing because I'm playing and I get like punched out by this skeleton on fire, running around with an AK, and then you follow them around for a few seconds in the kill cam. He's just laughing at the screen, which I thought was funny. It stuck with me for some reason. That had the map. I can't remember whether in the multiplayer map it had that high-rise tower that went down that would like got shot out and went sideways or not. I can't remember if that was only a single player moment. It probably was.
I don't remember. I didn't play the
that
multiplayer for the previous games. I played the multiplayer for 4 and that was it.
Yeah. Multiplayer for 2 and 3 was legit. It was good. It was simple.
Yeah, they were cool. I only played these games on the PS4, so I missed out on the original launches because I played this game leading into 4 when the collection came out.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I burnt out at the beginning of 3 and then came back to it and then did 4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah.
What else you got, Jeremy? Last one.
Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver came out that year.
The Pokemon games of myth for me.
Yeah. Oh, have you not played them?
No, I haven't. And all I hear about is how amazing they are.
Yeah.
I think it might be time I get a copy.
Oof, pricey.
I know. We've got a. I was gonna say we've got a friend from our old work, but then I was like, no, he's not gonna part with it.
Yeah, like I am also a friend from work with a copy of it, and I'm not getting rid of mine.
No.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one they made there.
The Gen 4 engine.
Yeah, but in a different, in the Kanto and then the Johto region. I don't remember if I'm getting those mixed up. The realization that you go back to the first region after you go through it, because I didn't really know.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say that was in the original Game Boy game, but that's so cool that the people who played it on like a bunch of the people who played on DS didn't know themselves.
I didn't look anything up. I was like, oh, cool, they've remade those ones which I didn't play.
Yeah,
because I didn't have a Game Boy. I can go through it, and then this whole you get Charizard and Ivysaur and the other one. It's like so fucking sick, and then fucking getting to the top of the mountain and seeing Red at the top.
Yeah.
And then fighting him. It's like, oh, fuck, he's the guy from the first game. Yeah. That was me. Just unreal. Just so cool.
Also, one of the just first remakes as well.
Yeah. First proper full remake as opposed to we've made Yellow. Really sick fucking game. Just so cool.
I found a seller on eBay who's selling Heart Gold and Soul Silver for $80.
I think it's worth it.
Platinum for $70.
Okay, so neither of those are going to be genuine. I think what
do you mean?
That's far too cheap. Those games, look, it might just be worth getting a flash card getting a 3DS flash card.
Yeah, it probably is just worth that at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah,
like don't fuck around.
Yeah, because you're probably not going to buy a genuine copy of those games anyway.
I don't need the case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the reason I got a case is because I don't have my old copy of Heart Gold anymore, and so when Soul Silver came into the shop that I used to work at, I then bought it
for a reasonable price.
Yeah, I've not even played it yet.
Yeah, well, that's not unusual for you.
Yeah.
So how much was this after you played Pearl?
Yes. Yep. Pearl, I think, is still my favorite, but it's hard to say if Heart Gold is not the best.
So you did Pearl, Heart Gold, and then Platinum.
Yep.
Wow.
And then somewhere in between there, Sapphire and Emerald.
Wow.
Yeah, good run.
You went deep and hard into some of the best Pokemon there's ever been. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Good fucking run.
I didn't realize you'd done all of them so densely packed together. Last one I've got here for me is Assassin's Creed 2. I've also got above this is where was Carrie at the time? I've already mentioned the PC situation, but in terms of consoles, I got my I was a Nintendo kid in the sense of got an N64 mostly for my brother when I was 3. That was for the both of us. It's a Christmas present for the both of us. That's because my brother was 13, right? And we had cousins who were really into this stuff, and he had friends at school who were really into that stuff. But I reaped the benefits. That meant I had a brother who played Ocarina of Time, and we had Diddy Kong Racing and Mario Kart. And anyway, point being, I've gone way too far back. Then I bought a GameCube, got a PS2 for Christmas at some point, and then I got a Wii when it came out on back order, a few months after it came out, because they were so hard to get for a little while. Little did we know how hard things would be to get in the future. And so I was always, this was me up until the PS3. I was never really into those sort of more intense, violent games. It'd be fun playing Halo at Tom's because it was sort of a it's just the thing I wouldn't do at home. Same with GTA. Like I didn't have GTA at home, but like playing it with friends, if we go over to their house, it's like, oh, this is cool and kind of violent, and we're probably a bit young to be doing this, and I know that, but like,
Yeah,
oh,
but
that's
like,
fine.
but like, hey, I've got a printout of a bunch of cheats we can put in, right? You know,
Totally,
like,
exactly.
Hey, like, want to drive a tank through a
Here's
city?
a tank. Here's a minigun.
Yeah.
Like, let's just mess around. And like, I'd gotten into Assassin's Creed by this point. I'd sort of branched out a bit. So this was me getting the PS3 and sort of being like, I'm gonna earn that I want to play these more mature games. I'm not just gonna be stuck on the Wii, playing and enjoying Boom Blocks and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Like those games were cool, but it got to a point I was like, I need something that I could play Assassin's Creed 2 on. I want to play Final Fantasy 13. I want to play I got into that stuff. Maybe I want to play Call of Duty Black Ops when it comes out. And so this was the start of that. And Assassin's Creed 2 came with the PS3. It was the PS3 Slim. It had a really decent hard drive size that I never got anywhere close to filling because I didn't do that much digital. But it was a good bundle. I saved for it. I got my brother. It was like, hey, Dan, I really want to get this game with the console. And can you pay the like 70 or 80 bucks that I don't have? I only had like 420 or something. Can you pay the rest and I'll pay you back over the next couple of weeks with my pocket money? He was like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And so he drove me down to the EB Games in Heidelberg that doesn't exist anymore, and we bought it. And so that's my like PS3 moment. And so that's kind of what I think of when I think of Assassin's Creed 2. Not just loving that game and platinuming it, and then buying the DLC for it, which I'd never done before, but also buying the game and getting, that was like the start of me like owning my gaming as like a passion, you know, that I went forward myself. This wasn't bought for me. I bought the whole thing myself.
Yeah.
And people didn't know what this other thing was, but I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And I wanted it. And no one else was getting it, so I could play it on their other system where I could borrow it. You know, this is something I was doing for me.
And it's a good fucking game.
It's an amazing game. I've platinumed it twice.
Yeah, right.
Story's still one of the best in the series. It was still when they cared about Desmond, and that story was coherent, which I enjoyed. And the gameplay's immaculate. I mean, my history with Assassin's Creed is well storied on this podcast and the website, but man.
Good fucking game. Pretty good year.
Good game. Yeah, a really good year.
Like
not one of those like, is this
year.
the best year of games? I don't think it's one of those, but like
a lot of cool things.
Definitely, like the very first Borderlands and Arkham games, first Dragon Age game, Braid, Infamous, Prototype. Like, there's so many things in here that are unique. Even Halo 3 ODST, right? It's more Halo 3, but it's kind of not. It's kind of different. You know?
Yeah.
Minecraft. What a year.
What a year.
Well, everyone, we're going to go on a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about games, including a spoiler discussion for God of War Ragnarok. We'll highlight that ahead of time so you won't be spoiled, but that's coming up. Stick right with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. If you're just joining us in the podcast, you've missed a very strange break. We spoke... Jeremy, why did we start speaking about saxophones again?
Like, we listened to the Halo music.
Oh yeah, we listened to Halo 3 ODST, and then I was talking about cheap saxophones, and then I got out my saxophone to look at, and then I tried to play it into the microphone, and Discord wouldn't it wouldn't hear it.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it was not a fan of the frequency of the notes coming.
I was just basically playing to myself for 5 minutes. Yeah. Riveting content. And now it is behind me in frame. My big beat up Barry sax. But that's not what we're here to talk about now. We were going to talk about Pokemon and Sifu. These are both games that we'll have more to say on later. As I'm at the very end of Sifu, but I haven't finished it yet. And Jeremy's playing more Pokemon. But what we do have to talk about is God of War Ragnarok. Now, this is your time to avoid spoilers, not just for, like, I didn't want to know about this. No. This is it. Jeremy has finished the game. which means that he and I are finally on par with where we're at with what we've experienced with the game. We're going to talk about it now. We've been talking about it for a few weeks on and off. I think this is probably going to be our button on it. This is probably going to be the end of our God of War discussion on Minimap. So we're kind of gonna go for it, which means that this is your don't be here. You don't want to listen to this if you haven't finished the game. Basically, we're going to be talking about a whole number of things, not just like, oh, I can't believe X happened at the end of X, like not just that, but like a whole bunch of random stuff along the way, twists and turns and character motives and developments and stuff that would genuinely spoil your enjoyment of the game, I think, if you heard it early and you plan on playing it. So come back later if you have finished the game. But if you haven't, I strongly recommend, if you are interested in playing these games at all, which I would recommend at least trying before making that decision, maybe don't listen to this bit until you've figured out whether you're ever going to play these games or not, and then maybe play them first. So...
It's as succinct as always, Gary.
Thanks, Jeremy.
In our show timings, I'm going to start adding an extra minute just to the coming back from the break.
We always... Hey, no, that's... I'm going to bat for this one. We always add a few minutes of buffer coming in and out of the breaks, and it's for shit like that. It's already in there. Don't you dare add another minute. We're already accommodating for my bullshit. Jeremy, you finished the game.
I finished the game.
I was trying to remember what you were up to last week. And I think you were like...
I got in the spear.
You'd gotten the spear. You kind of only just got in the spear, right?
That was like the big thing that I was up to.
Yeah. Oh, and then Kratos went to sleep, and then it was another Atreus section.
Yeah.
So you had like another quarter to a third of the game left.
Yeah, like a solid chunk. I had like a little party on Saturday, and so Sunday I was feeling quite seedy. And so I woke up and played a bunch of it, then sort of like sat on the couch and then didn't play any for a little bit and then stopped and then just decided, well, I guess I'll keep playing, and then just picked up the controller again and then continued to play.
Guess I won't do anything else.
Well, it's like I literally sat there like, I actually don't want to do anything today, so I'm just going to pick up the controller and continue doing what I was doing.
Yep. It was funny. You were sending me messages, and Discord isn't sending me phone messages at the moment, ever since my computer didn't turn on properly on Sunday. And so I wasn't getting notifications, but you're sending me like a screenshot of an end game area, which is just fucking gorgeous. But you were exclusively talking to me about where you're up to in the game through jokes.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how
I do that a lot.
You were like, I just killed Toby Ziegler with an axe. I'm like, I don't know how to engage with this.
I'm funny.
Or like, you showed me the picture of that beautiful area. It's like, oh man, I can't wait for photo mode. First thing I want to do when I go there, when we get it, is go there. And like, reiterating again, this is a spoiler zone. Get out. I'm about to. Yeah. This is it.
Yeah.
But then you sent a message being like, oh yeah, I can't wait to take a photo with Brock's corpse. I'm like, oh my god, dude. Like that's how you started it, and I was like, I wanted to talk to you about what you thought about that story moment and the twist, and I haven't spoken to anyone about how like intense that scene was, and you come in with this bullshit. And I know because you're thinking like, oh, someone's gonna do that on Twitter, and like aren't photo modes and in-game silly and stuff like that, but you just totally like just broke that. It's like, I'm gonna not engage with this too much tonight. So, what's your vibe? Just give me the vibe. Just give me your loose vibe right now, and then I'll get into some questions, and we'll bounce off and we'll bounce around.
It's fine.
It's fine. The game's fine. Story's fine. Ending's fine. What's fine?
The whole thing. God of War Ragnarok.
The whole game is fine.
It's fine. Fine to good.
So like a 7-ish.
Yeah, like a 7.5 for me. Like I played it, I got through it. I have issues with it. A lot of it was pretty good. Not all of it. I think it's messy and a little bit confused.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's got some really strong moments and some moments that are just should not be in the game at all. Or some things that maybe shouldn't be in the game at all. Like so, like all right, let's
like Atreus.
No, I don't even think necessarily Atreus needs to like his playable section shouldn't be in the game, but I think they.
Okay.
I think that's a different. I think it's a different game. Is the thing. Let's just talk about the story first. Let's go through all the story.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like how we felt about it.
Yeah.
I think that this is a better story than the first one.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
For me,
That's kind of where I had landed.
yeah. Yeah, I think overall I enjoyed the story as a whole in this one more than the last one. And like a big part of that is that there's more than one woman in this story. You know,
You did it, Sony Santa Monica.
yeah, they did it. There's a larger cast of characters in this game that I think will allow for more interesting perspectives. And I think at times they failed to give you those perspectives in a way that really meant anything.
Right.
This game is a game realistically about 4 people, being Kratos, Atreus, Odin, and Freya. And everyone else is very secondary. Maybe larger parts than they were in the previous game if they are returning characters, but still definitely very secondary to everybody else.
Yeah.
And that is shown because a lot of the things that they do are very much side quest things, or nothing.
Companions.
Yeah, or just like bit characters. But they are serving these four larger than life characters in the God of War, the Allfather, Freya, and Atreus / Loki. I still don't know what name he prefers.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
I think he is Atreus at the end of the day, and like Loki was what he was meant to be, and yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
It's strange that like Odin wants to call him that, and like.
And he seemed pretty fine with either, but there was like a long part of that game where I couldn't figure out how much he really cared about one or the other.
Yeah, it's funny because he says at the start of the game, he's like, we should be out there finding out who I am, who Loki is.
They don't really do that.
I think it's. Yeah, not really. And that's part of what I was saying when we were talking last week about how like you find Tyr and then he doesn't know what else to do, so he goes and speaks to Freya, which is a god awful idea. And then they come back with another plan. He's like, "Great, let's do that." And then he's like, "Oh, I'm angry." And then he ends up in Jotunheim, and then he like gets angry and just goes to Asgard for some reason. Like, why would he do that? And like helps Odin for some reason, and then like he gets upset one time because he did a bad thing, and he's just like, "I want to go home now." It's like, what? But yeah, I think he just is Atreus, like.
Yeah. Oh, like
and
he's his character, but it's just like I like he also like the ending of the game is him just leaving.
Can we talk about that ending?
Yeah.
Now that you've brought it up, so like you're in Asgard, you fight Odin. The fight's over. Odin's dead. Ragnarok comes. Freya tries to save everyone with Ingrid and his sword and stops the rock from destroying the Freyr. Yeah, it's really hard to say with our accent.
Yeah.
Enough so that Angrboda can come with Fenrir and everyone can leave together, except for Freya, because he part of his initial Norse story is to fight Circa at Ragnarok. And so he dies there, and everyone escapes. But in kind of like Atreus like bumps into Kratos to like bump him into the world tear, the realm tear. And so then you don't know what happens to Atreus. Like it looks like Atreus gets left behind because he sacrifices himself or something. And then you get that really weird shot, that like GoPro shot of Kratos running through the mist. It's like, Atreus. It's like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, that was bad.
And then you wake up as Atreus and he's like hit his head or something.
Also, they broke their rule of no cuts.
Kinda, yeah. Well, because it just goes to white. It's like a hidden cut, but yeah, yeah.
They broke their rule of no cuts. It's like a time jump.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, what the fuck is the point of that?
Yeah. But outside of that, so Atreus wakes up, he's like, oh, I have to find father. And so he walks at they're in this hold in Midgard, and he says hi to the Valkyries, and he walks past, and he says hi to Thrud and Sif, Elena.
Elena.
Yeah, Elena from Uncharted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And he starts saying, thanks for helping us. I hope you make a good Valkyrie one day. He's like, why are you saying goodbye? You just woke up from a concussion. And then he's like, thanks, Dad. Not Dad. Mamiya, you're like a second dad to me. Thank you so much. He's like, thanks, lad. He's like, why are you just saying goodbye to everyone?
Yeah.
And then he gets to the top of the mountain, and they're like, we have to show you something. And we show you this shrine. And he's like, Dad, I have to go. All parts of my being are saying I have to go. And Kratos is like, okay. And then Atreus, like, he walks out of the cave, and he turns around with his foot on the rock, and he looks back at Kratos and the camera, and then he walks out of view, and he's gone. And that's it.
Yeah.
For fucking no reason at all. And like, I don't necessarily mind the whole like, oh, I have to find the giants. I have to help the giants. This is my calling.
Sure.
But why the fuck is it just like that? The only instance where, sorry, this is me not really being able to talk to anyone about this for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But it was something I just immediately picked up on. I was like, I guess they just wanted to make sure everyone saw it. So it was part of the game before the credits, so people didn't like clock off. But I really wish this was like this is what you get for 100%ing the game. Maybe you get to choose between Atreus and Freya after the credits, and you bump around the overworld, and maybe you get a bit of dialogue from Atreus being like, I feel something calling to me, or I feel a responsibility, or I don't feel complete after Ragnarok, right? But you don't get any of that. He's just like, it's like Poochie in The Simpsons. He's like, I have to go now.
My people need me. Yeah.
Anyway, that whole section was nice, but forced, I felt.
Yes. Yeah, it wrapped up too quickly.
So quickly.
In a game that already had dramatic pacing issues.
Yeah.
And yeah, that part isn't good. That part didn't make any sense. I don't really understand a lot of the... I understand what the game was telling, but the characters shouldn't have believed what was happening. Right? Everyone was making decisions that weren't in line with things that had just happened.
Freya gives Atreus back the mistletoe necklace. It's like, all right, this is still the thing that killed your son. Like, this is not a thing about honor. This is not a thing about, oh, you've earned this. This is not a thing that Freya cares about. There is no way that this is not a bad thing for Freya to be holding.
Yeah.
This is not a commemorative medal. This is not what...
Yeah.
Yes.
Once again, I think they don't know how to end both of their games. I think that they get stuck, and I think I feel a little bit more vindicated in my feelings on the first game's ending, since the game sort of took my own perspective and sort of played with it a little bit as well.
In terms of like, has Kratos really changed?
Well, like in terms of the parts where he fucking visits the Norns and they mock him. They're like,
yeah,
oh,
he's like, you're just gonna do everything anyway.
Yeah, he says like, oh, you killed gods and now you're sad about it.
Yeah.
And like I sat there going like, fucking yeah, right? Why does everyone? Yeah, right. So
yeah,
yeah,
I do think they did great exploration of all of that theming.
Yeah, I thought the Norn stuff was pretty good. I enjoyed a lot of the. I enjoy the conversation of, is avoiding prophecy going to cause prophecy, and does it really matter? I enjoyed all that stuff quite a lot, which is why I don't think that this is like a bad game with like a bad story.
Yeah, I'd say that's the core part of the entire ending of the game is is prophecy coming true or not?
Yes. And at the end of the day, like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, whatever happens, and that is the world that you live in, which is like basically where you leave a lot of that stuff. Is that, like, you know, you might try and avoid prophecy, or you might not try and avoid prophecy, but like realistically, like, the things that will happen are going to be caused by you regardless. So you need to figure out what you want to do.
And that's what Atreus says to Odin at the end, where he's like, we all make choices. There is always a choice. You did this. This was not something that you had no part in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the last fifth is scrambling to try and wrap everything up. It is really, like, the game really struggles actually with trying to wrap up everybody's things to the point where they don't actually wrap everything up.
Yeah, kind of from like the point where I was playing with you the other day on Wednesday, right? Where you like go to Vanaheim to like save Freya. I feel like from that point it's all like thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to credits.
As in, is it the Heimdall part?
Yeah, that's where you go and save Freya. You have to fight.
I didn't know which Freya you meant you were saving, because you saved both of them in Vanaheim. Sorry. Brother Freya.
Yeah, Brother Freya.
Yeah, and Sister Freya.
Fucking hell.
That part is like, because I enjoyed the Heimdall fight for the most part, because it was mechanically a little bit different. And then from
and like writing still excellent. Yeah. Like in terms of what they're saying to each other and the characterization and all of that.
I honestly think Heimdall should have been the final fight.
Right.
Like,
you kill Odin and Heimdall's like, what did you do?
Kinda, yeah. Or like, you know, like I had a good thing going, kind of like his selfishness, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, doesn't make sense lore wise, because he's got the horn of Yellowhorn. But like I became a lot less interested once I killed Heimdall.
Interesting.
Because Thor, he's kind of a bit one note. Like, they don't do enough with him. Heimdall is
by the time you start getting things done with him,
the game's almost done. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's dead.
The things that you do, like Heimdall, you know what his intentions are. And he's a prick, and everyone fucking hates him, and he's great to hate. He's like the Boulder of this game, except not nearly enough of him. But also, like, technically, he's a very interesting character. You know, him knowing
with his mind reading capacity.
Yes. And his relationship with Odin was interesting as well, because like he calls out, like, the first time you see him, and fucking Odin is like. No, and he says to Odin, you know, like, this guy's gonna try and kill you. And
he means to betray you.
Yeah, and he goes like, I know, and he goes like, but don't you want me to, like, get rid of him? And he goes, no, like, he's not gonna kill me now. Like, all that stuff is good. The Thrud stuff, I could take or leave.
Yeah, it's fine.
There are so many things happening, and so much of it feels so inconsequential by the end.
Yeah. In terms of what it means for the greater plot, I think that makes sense.
Sif's quick turn at the end, because everything has to happen in the last, like, 20 minutes. Like
where suddenly she saved the one Midgardian who they happen to voice.
Right, yeah. And, like, you know, Thor attacking and then getting killed, and like, oh, he's at his moment and he's dead. There's no...
I'll say Sif's turn wasn't that quick. I just feel... I felt like they contextualized it well enough in, like, Niflheim, where she comes to talk to Thor, and she's like, we can't keep doing this. Something has to change.
That scene was so quick, though. I wanted more of them being offshoots, maybe, or something. Or just do that earlier.
Yeah.
Mimir
there's a scene in Asgard where you could, like, put your ear to the door and listen to them talk in their bedroom. Did you do that?
I listened to all of those. There just was like 3 of them was the thing, and it's off camera, and so I'm like. Like, I'm getting a building, but I want them to do something.
I will say what I really appreciate about the way they did their story was that, like, you know, Atreus goes to Asgard. He kind of gets to know this sort of family unit, basically. And then he comes back. And so I did a bit of exploring with Atreus and Mimir and Kratos after that point. And Mimir starts talking to Atreus about his time in Asgard. And Mimir says something scathing about Sif and Thor. And Atreus is like, yeah, well, it seems like they've both stopped drinking. It seems like Thor maybe more recently. And Mimir's like, well, you know what? Good on them. If they're making a good effort for Thrud, then good for them. And it immediately humanizes all of the myths that we've been hearing from Mimir for the last game and a half.
Sure.
Of like Thor killed Hrimthur and all of the deception towards Odin and all of the just how all we hear about is the death and the destruction that Thor has caused. And then we get to hear this side of like Mimir has been telling these larger than life stories, but then we also hear him engage with this sort of more domestic sort of like, wow, they weren't great parents to their boys, but maybe this can be enough. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I enjoyed getting the second perspective of that stuff, like a more first-hand like perspective of the tales of Asgard that you hear in the first game. But I also like didn't really like believe them.
Interesting.
I feel like they didn't feel like these tales that were told didn't feel like they happened in this world.
Right. Yeah, it is almost incongruous at some point, isn't it?
Yeah, like there was and I think like, part of it is because like, Mimir like canonically is a good storyteller, but it's just like this doesn't feel like a world that a lot of things has happened in, and I think part of that is the thing that we spoke about a little while ago, where I was saying like this game feels like a theater show, and you make the set of your theater show. You don't make a background set because theater shows don't have that much money or time or patience, and you just don't do that. And so this fell into some of those similar trappings where like, Asgard, you can walk from one side to the other in about 20 minutes. And I'm trying to figure out like how are there like a million like Asgardian gods? Like there's like a lot of them. And like some of them like, yes, and they're in different realms and stuff. And some of them are dead and all that stuff is fine. But like, I'm just like, it's just a very small...
It's a village.
Yeah. And like part of it being a story and a tale is like this idea that, if things happen at the time that they do because that is when the story is written. But like the idea that, like it's... Sif and Thor's kid is the same age as Atreus, and there's just there's funny coincidences because that's how that works. But it feels like no one has really been there for that long. Like Odin feels like he's like 90 years old. He's not like an old man. Like the old mate Hannibal Lecter from the Marvel movies who plays Odin.
And
Anthony Hopkins. So Anthony Hopkins. He feels fucking ancient. Even Thor feels like he's been around for a long time. He talks about how old he is. He talks about, like I'm 4,000 years old and I've killed twice as many people or whatever. Right? You feel like he's knowledgeable in the various things. And I think a lot of the characters here, like they didn't feel... And I'm not saying that they needed to copy more Marvel version of Norse mythology, but like they didn't really feel that intelligent or wise. Odin felt like he knew things and was hiding things, but Thor felt like just a 60-year-old piece of shit.
Yeah. No, it is funny.
I got
when they
age.
humanized them like that, they did ground it like almost too much.
Yeah.
I think that is fair.
Yeah, like I got more age from Kratos talking more about Greece, talking more about his days in Olympus. There was
his brother and
like his brother, him talking about like different weapons. When he gets the spear in the first time and he talks about like this is like a spear we used as a Spartan. Him saying Spartan even reminds you that like this is that guy. Him talking about his family. From Greece, him talking about going to Olympus. They do some of that in 2018, but it felt like a bit more hand wavy. This felt like there was a genuine reason to bring up a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Which was good.
I really liked how they wove it in.
Yeah.
He's accepting parts of himself as well. It's part of like him being able to accept himself was the whole part of 2018 in a way. Like, at least accept more of himself.
Yeah. And weirdly, I thought Mamiya had nothing to do.
Yeah. Like, he was there.
He's the funny guy you talk to. I enjoyed his relationship with Kratos more, but Mamiya didn't do anything.
That's true. And they kind of MacGuffined him as much as they could in 2018. Like you need me to show you where to go, so cut off my head. Atreus is sick, so I'm your only companion for right now. Oh, I'm figuring stuff out. Oh, we need to use your Bifrost eye. Oh, you only have one of them because Odin took the other one. Where is the other one? Like,
yeah. But he was
I feel like it would have been a bit trite, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, I guess finally, not finally, there's two more characters that we got to get through for the story, or two more groups of characters. One of them is Tyr, who...
What did you think?
What happened to him?
You were never with Tyr.
Oh, it was always Odin?
You were never, ever with Tyr.
Oh, okay.
You were always, 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 always with Odin.
Ah. Okay.
Did you not get that?
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if it was a Tyr was kidnapped at the last moment briefly.
Like you freed Tyr and then Odin took Tyr away again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you were never with Tyr. You were always with Odin's facsimile. Well, you were always with Odin. It was just Odin himself.
Right. I don't think that's very clever.
Sure.
But
how did you...
I don't think that's clever only because I'm sitting here waiting for Tyr to do something. I'm waiting
It does feel weird, doesn't it?
Tyr Tyr was giving his perspective of I'm not going to fight sort of thing, but he's... I didn't...
That's because Tyr wasn't there to help you.
No, I know.
Tyr was there to spy on you.
I understand all of that.
It makes sense of all of those previous actions, but you're right. It does make the first 20 to 30 hours of the game a bit of a gigantic question mark.
And it's also kind of like,
what are we doing here?
It's kind of a cheap trick of I don't think that adds to the previous conversations you had with Tyr, in air quotations, to know
it only takes away from them, right? Because you can't believe anything that happened with Tyr.
Yeah, but also you didn't really learn a whole lot from them back then.
Nope.
So it's not like he's feeding you lies and you're going off and doing things that are really fucked. You're not working for Odin. He's just there to sit and watch.
Yeah, he's there to understand what's going on. So it's like it recontextualizes when Atreus goes back after Heimdall is killed, and he's like, apparently Heimdall's dead. You know anything about that? He knows.
Sure.
He knows firsthand. Not only does he probably know, he actually knows what happened.
He could have also just easily have known all this because he's the Allfather. There are so many avenues of him knowing that stuff because he's got...
Oh yeah, but just saying he's the Allfather he knows, I feel is a bit cheap. This being the way that he does it makes more sense because it's not just there is more stuff you find out in the post game. There apparently is so much content in the post game, and there's only a little bit I've found, but there is an Asgardian prison you can find, and it's full. The prisoners who are in there are people that Odin impersonated.
Right.
So there's a dwarf apparently who you can see in Svartalfheim, and there's a light elf, and there's the travelers with the big swords, and it's sort of about how he's been affecting things all over the place quietly.
Right.
And I think that's a much more explainable, understandable way of this is why he knows. This is why he has control, because he's been exerting his knowledge and control and gaining it surreptitiously.
I think my immediate response to that is I don't care.
And honestly, I think that's fair because they don't really give that to you.
No,
that's
they don't.
That's a reading that I've gotten a lot out of with as much as I've put into it, kind of a deal.
And like that stuff can be written really well and can be great and can be useful to the story. But when I'm missing something from the story because I'm not going to do that side stuff, then that's no longer side stuff.
Yes.
I'm not confused. I'm confused because your lack of being able to tell me the right information. Not from you putting it in a different place that I haven't been to yet. It's no. I've done the story.
Yeah, totally.
It's a long story.
Really long.
There's a lot of it that fucking didn't really need to be there.
Yeah, and when you contextualize that Tyr was never Tyr, it all of a sudden makes the sort of tail chasing that happens in the first 15 hours of the game even more circuitous, right? Because okay, bloody Atreus wants to find Tyr at the start of the game. He finds those shrines and it's like, okay, let's go and find Tyr. And they're like, where is he? A burning soil, and they try and riddle that out. And they're like, is he in Muspelheim? No, probably not, but maybe a mine. And maybe that's just a misreading of that line and he's somewhere else, or maybe he's dead, right? But it plays into, then they go to Durlin. Durlin is in Odin's pocket. He thinks he knows where Tyr is. Tyr is where Odin put Tyr.
Yeah.
And Odin has found a way to install himself in their inner circle. And then they don't know what to do because Tyr's this traumatized prisoner of war, which makes sense, which I thought was an interesting dynamic, but also it was fake when you find out.
Yeah.
We have that Atreus section. We go to Alfheim, and Tyr is interesting to be around, wonderfully performed, an excellent presence, and we find out it's all fake. So then, maybe do we really care that much? It
makes me care makes me care about it way less, honestly.
Yeah. That's the thing. And the other thing is because we know that that's a fake, if we play it through the second time around, I think it's going to feel even more why are we even doing this? Why are we even here?
Yeah. Yeah. The best part about stories that have characters that are intentionally, giving misinformation or misdirecting the protagonists, is when you can go back to them a second time and see those things happening. But you need to be able to see those quiet moments as having a purpose.
Yeah.
If you watch Knives Out, there's a moment at the beginning where
for Knives Out.
Yeah, I'm gonna spoil the Ryan Johnson's 2018 or 2019,
which is a wonderful whodunit. So I recommend you watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. It's Chris Evans. Chris Evans is the one that after a bunch of, and that's not even the whole story, but he's the villain, right? He's the baddie of the whole story. There's a moment fairly early on where the main character, what's her name?
What is her name?
Yeah.
Marta? No.
Yeah, that's her name, but what's the actor's name?
Ana de Armas?
Yes, yeah. Ana de Armas goes and sees Chris Evans because Chris Evans picks her up after his family is just bombarding her with questions and overloading her because she's inherited everything and all this stuff, right?
And he gets the info out of her because he wants to listen, but also he kind of bribes it out of her.
Yeah, well, he says hey, get in, let's go for a drive. He's the outcast of the family. The family doesn't like him either. He doesn't like the family, and so
but he does the thing with the vomiting thing where he's like, I know you can't lie. Here's a bucket. Tell me the truth.
Yes, but he also, there's the moment where they sit in a diner and they eat, and she gives him information, and it looks like a genuine scene where he's acting, we're both outcasts from our family. I understand it, all this stuff, and she's confiding in him, and you watch it again, and you can see moments where he's actually getting information. He's finding out stuff from this moment of openness between the two that he then does use later. And she feeds him more information, which then happens again later on, and there's more oh my god, the killer and all this stuff. What the fuck is happening? How was you always step ahead? I never once felt like there was a mole, right? I never once felt how do they know all this?
It was just, he was just waiting.
Yeah. But he
was just waiting the whole time.
But not for any genuine purpose. It didn't feel like.
Just because he's a bastard.
Yeah, and that's not fun.
No.
That's not smart. The final characters I just wanted to talk to was Brock and Sindri. They have more to do in this game.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed Sindri's relationship with Atreus.
I enjoyed Brock's moment in Svartalfheim with the forge.
Yeah, that part was cool. And then Brock dies. And I was like, oh no. Okay.
What, you weren't sad?
Oh, sure. Brock was funny.
Yeah, well, but like Atreus says to someone, like he's like their uncle. He's the first other character you meet who you don't fight in the first game.
No, Mimia's the uncle. Brock was never. Brock is the comic relief.
I appreciate the both of them. Like, I don't just think he's there for a joke.
Like I appreciate it, and I appreciate his bluntness. He was the one that found out fucking Tyr was Odin, but but that was like the only thing he like really like did. He went to the forge with Kratos, and that moment is interesting because you learn that he's actually been resurrected, and that's interesting. But like they don't do anything with that really.
Yeah, I don't think it's about that though at that point. Like for me, it was like I just cared about the characters by that point, and so all of these are interesting details to me. Like it's just kind of character soup, and I want to drink it all up. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at with that.
Character soup, and in soup, every ingredient has a purpose, and Brock's purpose was to die because he was the least important of the group.
Yeah, I guess so.
And that was all I saw. It was like, oh, like we got to have a death. We got to make everyone sad. Fuck, Freya's too important. Freya's brother's got to sacrifice at the end. Kratos can't die because it's his game. Atreus has still got a whole bunch of shit to do. Tyr is, well, not actually Tyr. And Sindri has to do the stuff at the end. So, well, I guess it's Brock. Mimia's still ahead.
Okay.
I just, like...
I could see that. I could see how you could see the composite parts and how it boils down. That makes sense.
Yeah. He's square peg and square hole, He's the Phil Coulson of the Avengers movie, right? You can't kill any of the Avengers in the first Avengers movie. We've got to fucking sign up for 6 more.
Yeah.
We couldn't kill any of the Avengers in Age of Ultron, so we killed Quicksilver because he's only in that movie.
Yeah. Okay.
It was too obvious.
Okay. How did you feel about how they characterized Sindri afterwards?
It was okay. I thought it was all right. I wanted a bit more like not even specifically reconciliation, but I wanted a bit more exploration of how Sindri actually felt about a lot of it, because he leaves, and then you visit him and he tells you to fuck off, and then he comes back at the end, not with all the dwarves because he doesn't want any more dwarves to die, which is fine. But then
just breaks open the wall.
Yeah,
which is like you could just do that.
Yeah, like he didn't do anything after Brock died. He was a key to a door, but he didn't like actually like act really. He didn't.
He did. That's false.
Like as in like his character didn't do a thing.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah. Sorry, not as in his performance.
Not as in the actor wasn't acting.
No. As in his character didn't do an action.
Yeah, but he broke the wall.
That isn't a Sindri specific thing that could have been done.
Yeah, it did feel a bit like, oh, this wall, there's a flaw that only one person knows, and it turns out that one person didn't even know it, and then Sindri just does it. Yeah. That did feel really weird. Like I can't really reconcile that anywhere.
They had no idea what to do with the cast of characters they had by the end of the game.
Yeah.
And that is a glaring issue for me, is that this is a game so much about these characters and about their relationships to things like fate and their relationships to things like prophecy and their relationships to things like family. And they gave them no food to feed on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of this game's issue is that there are too many characters. Like when you look at like an Uncharted story or something like that, it's a pretty close group at the end of the day. Like even when you bring in the villains. But this, you've got, like you said, you've got the like 7 to 8 people who hang out at the hideout, who hang out in Sindri's house by the end of the game. And then you've got like 5 people in Asgard. And then a bunch of others as well. Like you've got the Valkyrie Queen, who has a bit more to do towards the end. You've got all of Brother Freya's troop. You've got
the giant lady.
Yeah, you got Angrboda.
We go back to we go back to Faye.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of characters in this.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's part of the issue, because they do all have to have their moments at the end, and they do all have some moments, but it does feel a bit weird, and it does feel a bit rushed. Like the spectacle of the final mission is quite fun, and like the visuals are amazing. And I like the way how they kind of twist some of what you see prophesied, like the boats of the armies of hell are meant to come, and they do come. And they immediately get fucked. And it's like, well, I guess that might have been a part of the prophecy. We didn't know because it was vague, because it's prophecy. Like, that's interesting. But yeah, it did feel a bit like, I don't know what we're doing or what's about to happen or what's going to, why and what and who and why. Yeah.
And like, I think in a game of the length of it is, I actually don't think that's too many characters, but I think it is poor, maybe not planning, but they needed to work out who was doing what and when. And they needed to start doing things fucking earlier. Things needed to happen. Like, okay, Tyr Odin's like revelation, that reveal should have happened earlier.
Yeah, that would have.
Tyr's not doing anything for too much.
No, he's pretty useless.
And I'm sitting here going like, I want Tyr to do something for all of the fucking game, only to find out it's not actually him. And I'm sitting here like, then like, what am I waiting for? Like, why are you making him? You know, like, make him a prick that fucks off. Make him be aloof. Make him not so openly nice. You know, he cooks for them and stuff, and all that stuff is interesting for a character that is going to do something, right? He doesn't actually do anything. Yeah. They needed, so then don't have him for half of the game.
The other thing is, like, even when he kills Brock, it's to like get the mask.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't even leave with it because they throw the spear and it catches the mask before he can go. So like,
the whole point of it was
even reveal himself.
Yeah. It's not very good.
Also, like, what the fuck is the mask? Who the hell? Who cares about this mask? What the?
I
don't care about this mask.
I enjoy the mask because it, you know, what it symbolizes is like, you know, like forever knowledge, right? You can't know what that is. No.
I just found it like
you don't get that sequence of them putting it on because then they would know and then they would show it, which you can't because it's an impossible
but, like,
object.
we never even heard about it in the previous games. Like, it was just a thing that Odin brought out of nowhere. It was like, we need a thing for Atreus to do while he's here. Here's a mask.
Yeah, I guess like it being
that we've never ever heard of.
Sure, I think that I didn't hate that as much, only because I'm like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. That's fine. That's a thing.
It's funny the different things that we do and don't like allow for.
Yeah, like I think because like the like I don't care about those more tangible things as much. I specifically only care about what makes the characters do things that are nice to, or like that are interesting to watch. Yeah. So like the actual mask is not a thing I care about. I care about more about how the characters react to that mask.
Yeah, totally. So I have one final part that I would love to discuss briefly. So Atreus, he walks off. And did you do the thing where when you finally walk out of the cave, you look to see where Atreus went, and it's just like fucking rocks?
Yeah, it's like a path that is definitely too big for Kratos. I'm like, okay, all right.
But also, like, for me, it didn't even look like a path. It was just like they just sent him off.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you just walk back down through the hole? You dingus! Why'd you have to walk to the top of the mountain?
Exit stage left.
Yeah. Anyway, after Atreus walks off, Kratos walks around to the back of the shrine, because it's Faye and Kratos' shrine, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that first shrine they look at together is Faye's, and it's about how Faye kind of rejects what was prophesized for them.
Right.
And then on the back of it is Kratos' shrine. And this is the one, and he looks at this after Atreus is gone. And this is sort of the like, this is Kratos' story. We saw Atreus's in Jotunheim. This one is Kratos's. It shows you Greece. It shows you what he did in the Northlands. And then in the future, from when he observes it, it shows him being revered by people. It shows him being the kind of god that Odin teased him for never being. And Freya and Mimir are there, and they say, "What did you see?" He's like, "I saw a possibility that I never considered." And that's interesting. And he's done all of this, and maybe he's ready to not work for himself anymore. He's ready to make the land a safer place and to tie off loose ends and to make things better for the people he cares about and the people that they care for. It's kind of feels a little sudden, like a small jump. But I feel like they're working towards that throughout the game. I'm not too annoyed with that. But
Sure.
What I am annoyed with is the whole, you get to the end of the game and it's this war camp and then Lunda makes you this new armor, the Fatebreaker armor. That's what it's called. And it's the red trim of the original set. I'm like, yes, fuck, you gave me the original armor that's so good, but it's like end game armor. That's great.
Yeah, it's finally I can get out of this like big plate armor that looks bad, and I can see his like his cool tattoos
his beard clip into it.
Yeah, yes, and his beard clips into it every minute.
So like awesome, great. And it's all about changing fate. He doesn't die at the end of the game like we thought he would, and this happens and this doesn't happen, and this part of the prophecy happens and this doesn't happen. And then it gets to the thing where it's like, we will make our own fate. Fate only binds you if you let it, he says at some point. Like, and so I feel like the resolution of that kind of thread is fate doesn't have to have any meaning for us. It doesn't have to hold us. We don't have to pay attention to it. It doesn't have to matter. And then the end of the game is him seeing his fate. And that kind of determines everything you do in the rationale for why he would be doing the post game, why he would still be helping out the realms, why he would be going on to do things like the berserkers. He says it is not safe to let malevolent spirits wander the realms. He's right. He's never cared about that before.
Yeah,
he's accepted parts. He's wanted parts of Atreus and Faye to instill part of his rationale. Now I get that, and he mentions that, and he wants that.
Yes.
But to think that he would only consider being this sort of god after seeing it on the shrine, on the back of the shrine that is for his wife, that shows her rejecting the fates after the culmination of them defeating fate and ignoring fate and going against fate, he then follows it. He's then inspired by it. It feels so incongruous to me. Mm-hmm. It feels so like the gears don't turn. They lock up against each other with that one. I'm like, wait, what? What?
Yeah,
why couldn't he just...
It's no more killing, snaps neck.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that not being neat. I enjoyed him being challenged on that regard.
Yeah, he should have not opened the shrine.
Yeah, or maybe he should have only opened like one half. He saw the past, he saw the present.
Sure.
And maybe he didn't want to see the future.
Yeah.
And closed it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It does not track.
Yeah. And I think it's an interesting place to take him as a character.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like I think like maybe what they could have done is they could have had it open via the fucking wind, and so the camera sees it, but Kratos is already...
you see it, but he doesn't, because it doesn't matter.
Or you don't see it because you don't get to know what comes next, because that's the point. Either or, but yeah, or he rips it off his hinges and he just piffs it. It's... I don't know if they get it.
Yeah. And I think they did for the ending. I thought it was interesting how they did it towards the ending. And like, they keep coming back to the prophecy, and it's all about how they deal with the prophecy. It funnels in through this theme. And I thought they did enough with that I was enjoying what they did with it. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Even if it's a bit loose, even if some of it isn't neat, I'm like, that's interesting. And then this last step is just like...
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I'm very excited to get to the post game stuff. There's a bunch of apparently just a bunch of cool stuff in there. Jeremy, I think there's a quest that you should do. That there's very little that I've experienced, but there is a quest you should do. You should go to the Raven Tree in Niflheim.
Okay.
There is a quest there, and I wonder what you will think of it. I think anyone who has finished this game who hasn't done so should go to the Raven Tree and listen to your companions. They'll say something. There's something there, and experience that. But like, yeah, I am excited to get to that in-game stuff and listen to more of their discussions and see and like go to Brock's funeral and stuff like that. I still haven't done that, but yeah, it is a messy game. This is where I landed on it, where I said it's a well-told story, but rather it's a good story told poorly. Like it's a better story.
Yeah. It is the for me it's the opposite of the first God of War. It is, which is a not a great story told well. Whereas this is like a better story told worse.
Yeah, which is funny because I came in with that in our first impression, and you said it was the same. Where you said it was a bad story told. You said it was different. You said it was a fine story told really badly.
For the second one.
Yeah, actually, I can't remember what you said. You disagreed with how I put it, but we're agreeing now, which is funny because you were at the start and now you're at the end, and yeah.
Yeah, it's... There are so many things that have like there's a lot of really cool moments which we haven't touched on that much, but like I think the Serta moment I think is pretty neat. Like when you meet him, I think is interesting. Really great Jeff Bridges impression from the actor who played Serta. A lot of the fucking I enjoyed enough going to the different realms with the Norse gods as Atreus, but actually playing as Atreus I found really poor. It
was fine.
It was like, like the part with Ellie in the first Last of Us is good because it's not super long. And then it's
also not very different.
It's not very different. This is different enough and not as good and happens over and over again that every time it happens, I'm like, fucking maybe I just stop for a little bit.
There's like hours of it.
Yeah. There's... like I said last time, I'm just going to say it again, all of the armor stats and everything, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's not enjoyable to really engage with that system in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I only really did enjoy or find that stuff any useful when I was doing the Berserkers, when I was doing that sort of endgame stuff.
Like, I'm enjoying the skills tree stuff. I think that's fine. I enjoy working on a specific skill over and over again and upgrading it. I think that's good and fine. But the actual, like, all of the various stats and armors and amulets and like, they give you 20 different fucking tabs to go down to see, like, which stat you want to look at the most. I'm like...
Oh, the menus are not good.
Not good. So many upgrade materials, so many chests... bad puzzles, like some genuinely really poor puzzles of like, hey, well, you got to get over here and throw the spear. I'm like, fucking no. Like, just let me jam the spear in the wall. Like, don't make me walk over there just so I can walk back. Like,
wouldn't it be cool if there was like an animation where you had to like, where Kratos jumped forward and embedded the spear as part of the jump and then push forward from that? That would have been fun.
That would be fun. I think the addition of the spear as gameplay I think is interesting enough. It never felt quite as good as the axe or the blades for me, so I didn't.
Definitely.
It was always the third option.
It gets better. Like, for me, the spear found its place when I unlocked the hold R2 ability, which siphons their element.
Right.
And so then you can make the spear a poison spear or a Bifrost spear. And it's like, that's really cool. That's cool. Sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, before that, I was a bit like, not sure what to do with it. The range doesn't feel that great. Again, that only feels good once you upgrade it. Yeah. It was cool though.
Yeah, it was neat. Like thematic wise, visually, it's all cool. Some fun shortcut abilities with the spear as well.
And it's interesting the motivation behind it is all like, this is Kratos' weapon that he makes. All of his other weapons have been bestowed upon him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the face sections are bad.
Yeah, you really didn't like them, hey?
She didn't. Like, there was, like, they don't.
She never really emoted. Did
She never emoted
she was
at
a
all.
very stoic person.
There is so much camera on her face. And whether it's like the model of her face or the fact that they didn't record performance capture.
Jeremy, no, she was in there.
Okay, visual face performance capture. She might have been acting, but she might not have had the dots on her face.
I think she did. She put a picture up on Twitter.
Well, maybe,
she was in there She was in there. But the thing that gets
maybe
me
Deborah
is
Ann Wall isn't really that good an actor.
I think it's the direction.
Yeah.
I think they directed her to be a stoic, someone who would be the partner of Kratos, right? We know she's holding secrets at this point in their life, and she's just stoic. And you're right. I read it as that was the direction.
Maybe. There's a lot of moments where no one emotes. So I don't know if it's just that or I don't know. There's a lot of things that are I think they should have reconsidered with this game, and I think honestly the biggest one for me was the no cuts. I think it didn't add to the game at all, and it just ruined the pacing of it. And the moment they decided to do a split story and then committed to that of Atreus leaving a bunch, they needed to realize that they couldn't do both of those and make them both good. It started off weird the moment Atreus leaves, and then it only got worse from there. Like, they should have just decided to have bespoke cutscenes. The amount of camera, running up to another character and then whipping back around while this camera's on this weird, never gonna sit still angle. Like, it does my fucking head in. We've seen that before. And we've seen that before in things like Death Stranding and Metal Gear Solid 5. And it worked great there because those camera shots were so fucking considered. But they
also had cuts.
They also had cuts. It
wasn't a wanna.
No. And, honestly, like you're not Kojima. You're not making you're not making those games.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a harder challenge, and when it fails, it is more obvious.
Sure.
And I think they overall passed that in the first game. I think that was a pass.
Yeah, I found the single cut to be as effective for me in this game as it was in the first. And that is, I hardly noticed it.
Right.
Honestly, it does very little for me in this game.
Yeah, which is fair.
It's just there. Like, as soon as I die and I have to respawn, that breaks that for me. As soon as I go into the Mystic Gateways and it's a big white flash, let alone the ring thing and the loading screens and all of that, it doesn't matter. Like, as soon as I go through the white flash, and it was the same in 2018, it was the exact same. They used them dozens, hundreds of times in the game. It's a cut. I know that.
I think it worked better in 2018 because they had that big round room. They had that giant round room that you would
Tyr's temple.
Yeah, and you'd walk through the door. And
that's true, but you still had the Mystic Gateways to bounce around inside the realms.
Yeah, I know.
And those moments, it's the same thing for me. So yeah, I still think it's a good game. I think anyone who enjoyed the first one should definitely play this one as well.
At the risk of jumping ahead, is it on your Game of the Year list at all?
Is it on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
But is it a genuine contender for Game of the Year for you?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think I thought it might have been earlier. This sits in a similar place to God of War 1. It's almost identical to God of War 1 for me with where it sits, even though it does different things and I enjoy it differently. But I think it's going to do that same thing. I remember earlier this year, I was doing some capture for 2018 on the PS5. And I pick it up and I play it. Every time I go back to that game, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, this game feels great to play. This game is great combat and I enjoy playing it and I really like it. But I think the length of the game means that I'm pretty done with the game by the time I get to the end.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just dismiss it from my brain. And so then every time I come back, I'm like, oh yeah, this has got such a good flow and the runic attacks and I can use the spear for this and unarmed to get this stuff. Yeah. And then I just forget about it again. So I think, I'm a few weeks away removed from this. in a way, and it is drastically fading into the background for me, in a similar way to the first one did. I think Elden Ring is more masterfully designed in some ways.
Sure.
It pulls many things off more gracefully than Ragnarok does. I think I maybe it's hard to say. Hard to say whether I enjoyed Ragnarok or Elden Ring more. They're very different. Like, I like story, single player, narrative focused games. That's just fun. I like that.
Yes, so do I. But I didn't like. I was wanting this to be done far earlier than when it was done.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be at the top there, but I don't think it's gonna win.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be on mine.
I just don't think it's as literally good, like as literally high quality as Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. I'd say that's it for God of War, but seeing as we're speaking about it, Jeremy, are you going to beat Elden Ring before the end of the year?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know when I'm going to fit time in for that one.
It is tricky. Like, part of the reason why I'm playing Sifu at the moment is I wanted to talk about it before the end of the year.
There's a handful of games that I want to get to, I think, before I get through more Elden Ring. Yeah. Like, I feel comfortable with my knowledge of Elden Ring, knowing where it's going to be. It's not like I'm like still in the first castle and I don't really understand what the game is. Like, I get that game. And I've seen a lot of it since as well. I've seen every boss fight in the game. I've watched tons of videos on it.
Right.
So like, it's not like I'm saving myself
completely blind.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think I would rather get through like a Norco. I'd rather get through Frog Detective 3. I haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah.
There's a handful of titles that I got to throw some time into. Before I finish Elden Ring. The Elden Ring.
Yeah. Well, everybody, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for listening. I think that's it for God of War. I am still going to play it with Sam so we can enjoy the story together, and I'm very much looking forward to that. It's a very different mindset for me when I'm playing something to record it or to always make sure I'm, if I'm recording, then it's just a different mindset. So I absorb the story very differently. So I'm looking forward to doing that solo or with Sam, not for work. But yeah, that's going to be it for us for God of War Ragnarok. Thank you so much for listening. Where's my outro here? What do I normally say? So next week, are we doing the Zelda one, Jeremy?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we've had an idea percolating for a while. We said it on the show and we were like, oh, that's another topic for another day. We're going to do it. The topic is Zelda, or are Zelda games open world? And so think about what your gut reactions are to that and think about it a bit more, because we got some sort of like feelings about it, sort of like gut feelings that sort of twist and pull us in different ways. And so we're just going to explore that. There's a chance it might be a bit of a shorter topic. Every time we say that it isn't, but I think this one, there is a legitimate chance this might be a shorter topic, but even so, I think it's worth us discussing the sort of ins and outs of that one. As I already said, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on all of the socials to find out when our episodes go live. That's at MiniMapAU on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram. At MiniMap on Hive. You can follow us individually. Jeremy, where can they find you on Twitter?
At Obi-Wan Jez.
And on other things as well. You can find me on Twitter at KJPalmer_24. Or if you want to follow me on Hive, it's just at KJ Palmer. Very excited I just got that name and didn't have to put in any symbols or numbers. First, I realized before, Jeremy, it's the first time I've ever had that happen to me, ever.
Yeah, right.
My name is common enough that I can never get it anywhere. So I'm very excited by this handle.
Right. That's funny.
For those of you... What?
I said that's funny.
Yeah. For those of you that are with us on Twitch, stick around. We'll be doing the post show. For those of you listening on a podcast service or later on YouTube, if you could give us a positive rating wherever you're listening to us or watching us, that would be very appreciated. It helps us out a lot. It helps people get to see this more. We would appreciate that greatly if you could do that. Lastly, if you wanted to support us on Patreon with money, you can do that to help keep the lights and mics on at patreon.com/minimapau. And for $5 you can ask us questions to answer on the podcast, all while helping us out greatly. But yeah, that's going to do it for us for this week. I don't know what this next week of games is going to bring for us, but we'll find out then.
Yeah.
And until then, stay safe. Have a good week, everybody. And Ragnarok. I don't know.
Ragnarok.